Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk about the latest episode of The Last of Us on HBO. It was called Infected. Before I get into that, I just want to say that it would really help me out quite a bit if you would give the video a like and share the video and subscribe to the channel. That's super important. And also make a comment. That helps me out in the algorithms, and it's also fun because I like to talk to everybody in the comment section. Okay, so this episode starts in Jakarta, Indonesia in 2003. And a mycologist there is taken by the police to a government facility because they want her to look at a sample on a slide under a microscope. And when she tells them that what they're showing couldn't possibly have come from a human subject, as they say it did, they take her to see the human that it came from, who is, of course, dead and who has a bite mark on her ankle. After seeing this and understanding what happened, the mycologist is very upset. It's explained to her that the dead person in question was one victim among 14 of an unknown patient zero. And at that point, she becomes even more upset. And they tell her that they brought her there to help them stop the spread, to create a vaccine. And in a very, very somber way, she tells them there is no vaccine that you can create. There is no medicine you can come up with. The only way you can stop the spread of this thing now is to carpet bomb the city as soon as possible. And then she asks to go home to be with her family. And it was very heavy, that scene, very dark. And you're like, Jesus. In the present, back in Boston, Joel and Tess are keeping their distance from Ellie, and they're kind of watching over her from a distance because they think she's infected and that she's going to turn at some point, even though she keeps telling them she's not going to. Tess asks Ellie why she's so important, and Ellie spills the beans, even though she wasn't supposed to. And Joel is incredulous about, how she could be the genesis of a cure because he's heard that stuff before, that cures are being looked into. But he agrees to continue taking her where she's supposed to go. So they set out on foot through Boston, which again looks crazy messed up. And it turns out that the reason it looks that way is because the government bombed the hell out of Boston to try to stop the spread, just like the lady said should be done in Jakarta. It isn't long before they hear a blood-curdling yell of some kind, and after making their way through a building and out to a balcony, they find a huge amount of infected writhing around on the ground below. We then learn that the spores go all the way underground and they act like sensors, connecting one area to another and connecting the ground to the infected, and that the infected are connected to each other. So there's kind of a hive mind situation going on. So they decide they have to go through a different building to get where they're going, and they come across a whole bunch of dead infected in there and one fresh kill. And from this, they realize they have to move silently because there are clickers in the building. And by that, I mean Joel and Tess realize they have to move silently because Ellie's never seen them or heard of them. It isn't long, of course, before they come upon one. And upon seeing it, Ellie gasps. And of course, that alerts it to where they are, and a running fight ensues. And these damn things are just as frightening in the show as they were in the game. And whoever they got to play them got the movements down perfectly. And of course, they use the same sound, and it's just terrifying. So we see Joel and Tess and Ellie all get attacked, and we see that Ellie even gets bit again. But they get out of there, and they get where they're going, and they find that the people they were supposed to meet are dead. They were killed in an attack when one of them got bitten at some point and then turned on the others. We learn that Tess has also been bitten in the previous building. And when they're forced to kill an infected that isn't quite dead, all the dormant ones that they ran into before start heading to their location. So Tess stays behind because she knows she's going to die anyway, to allow Joel and Ellie to escape. When the horde of infected people come in, most of them run right by her, but when one sees her as she's trying to light a lighter to blow them up with, after dumping a flammable substance and a couple of grenades onto the floor, she lets it inject its mushroom thing into her mouth. while she keeps trying to light her lighter, which she eventually does and sets off an explosion. And that's where the episode ended. So, yet again, this was another really good episode, just in terms of television and in the way that it mirrors the game or is faithful to the game. It's just like watching the game come to life. It really is. And it's just as good as the game was. It's virtually the same experience. And everybody's just doing a great job. They've even gotten it to the point where they've got little details right. Like Ellie is wearing a flashlight on her shoulder that's exactly like the one in the game, which is very cool. And it's just a great thing to see because a lot of the time video games are adapted poorly. But this is just a really good show. And, your heart goes out to Joel because he just keeps losing people. Although it's 20 years. Well, no, right? He lost his daughter. She's been gone for 20 years. Then he lost his brother, who's not necessarily dead, but he doesn't know where his brother is. And now he lost Tess. And it's crazy to have to watch him continually lose people. And he's not attached to Ellie yet. So I think you're going to see him, come to resent her more than you're going to come to see him care for her in the next few episodes. And then, later, obviously, he's going to end up caring about her, but it's just crazy. And I'm loving it. So that's really all there is to say, except, while I was watching it, I had to keep asking myself, how did they film these scenes in Boston? Now, obviously, the dilapidated, destroyed buildings and all that are CGI and whatnot, but like, there's a part, and it's been done in other shows and movies where you go, how did they do this? They're walking like on a bridge or an on ramp, and there are bombed out cars around them and overgrowth and everything. And you're thinking, did they really like block off a part of the highway? How did they do this? Now, I've seen special effects reels for other movies where a scene takes place on a bridge with cars and everything that's shot on a soundstage, and they have a backdrop that makes it look like they're really on the bridge. And I suppose that's what they must have done here, but you cannot tell, just like you can't tell in the movies. And it's like, wow, technology has come a long way. It's really impressive. Anyway, that's really all there is to say. It's just another good episode. The show is off to a great start. I can't wait for episode 3. I will, of course, be back with a review of that when it comes out. I'm going to get out of here for now. Until then, I wish you peace and long life.